Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question to the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning to you. It's time for Coffee Ann on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. My name is Joe Callahan at the Coffee Ann table after a 2-week hiatus that we gave him time off. Bob Lauder is here. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you here with us once again. And we'll be joined by Sue Tesser-McKenzie from The Call. She's not here just yet, but she'll be here momentarily. She might be stuck in the heat somewhere. Maybe the asphalt's melting and she has a little trouble getting here. So
could be.
So we'll be joined by her. And but Bob was gone for the last 2 weeks, and you took a pretty nice trip, huh?
Before I talk about the trip,
all right,
let me ask you about this 32-year thing. Somebody has put up with you for 32 years.
And they're not even my parents. Yeah.
Yep, I was going to say, your parents didn't take care of you.
You're right about that. Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
Must be a saint walking amongst us. Not you, I mean, your
wife.
Yeah,
the other one, right? The other half. All right.
Congratulations, that's great.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, there was 32 years ago today that it was funny at this time because I had the day off from here, and 8 in the morning I wasn't doing anything. It was actually kind of a dull day until the wedding started. The wedding was at 5 in the afternoon. I had literally nothing to do. Most of the day.
I don't think that was the same in your wife's situation.
No, she had a lot more to do. So.
Oh, yeah. Bridesmaids and all that kind of stuff. And excitement.
Do the hair the correct thing. The only thing I really had to do was shave.
You're just sitting around the house reading Marvel comics and, waiting for 5 o'clock.
I was in our apartment that we were going to be living in. Going, well, some of the guys are coming over, but they're not coming over till like 2 o'clock. I did get a phone call from my cousin who wasn't going to make it, so I talked to her down in Louisiana for a little while. But other than that, it's like,
whoa.
All righty.
Whoa. 32 years.
All right, yeah, 32. Yeah. All right, so Bob was away the last couple of weeks. You took a nice little trip?
Yes, my wife took me on a trip to France. We went on a river cruise with a group called Forever Friends that Norm and Helene Ballageron put together. We've traveled with most of these people before. They are a lot of fun to be with. And Helene does a fantastic job in organizing everything. You do not have to worry about a thing. If there's a glitch comes up, she's able to fix it right away. It's really a good time. We flew to Paris and then Marseille. We got on a riverboat, which went from Avignon up to Lyon, which took about a week. And saw a whole lot of little towns along the way. Arles,
sure.
where Van Gogh had done a lot of his work. Avignon, where there's a fantastic 3-layer aqueduct that was constructed by the Romans back about the year 500 that crosses the river, the River Rhône, and it's still used, and it's amazing. And then we took a train from Lyon to Paris, got on another boat, and from there we went up the Seine River down the Seine River, all the way to Omaha Beach at Normandy.
Wow.
And then came back to Paris and had time there as well. What surprised me about the beach at Omaha, though, I've seen the movies, The Longest Day and when you are actually there, the area between what appears to have probably been the low tide mark back in 1944 and the actual embankment that starts to climb up the hill is about a half mile. And you realize that these guys were coming out of the landing craft under machine gun fire and struggling through half a mile of getting shot at before they could get any kind of cover whatsoever. Took a great deal of courage from those guys and a lot of very good leadership to inspire them to do that, because I think a lot of them would have otherwise, not wanted to do it. And the big surprise was, and maybe it's different from the way it was in 1944, is the hills that surround the area are covered with vegetation. And it looks and I asked the guide if the vegetation was there in 44, and he said yes, which I really cannot understand, because it would seem that the troops, once they reached the base of the hills, would have to be going through trees and brush and stuff like that to get to the top of the hill. and that just doesn't equate with anything I've seen in the war movies. So, but it's still pretty
Hollywood
impressive.
gets it wrong sometimes, Bob.
Well, it could be, but
Yeah.
you know,
All right. Well, I'm glad. Good weather over there when you were there?
it was incredibly warm. When
Was
we
it?
were in Avignon, it was in Marseille. It was 109 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, they got it rough
Avignon
like
was
us.
104. By the
Wow.
time we got to Paris, it was in the high 80s, low 90s. It was warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you survived.
Survived.
Now,
And the French do not have the same affinity for air conditioning
no,
that
not
we
a
do.
big fan of them.
Fan is the correct word.
All right. Now,
Yep.
were you over in France when you got the word about Jimmy Buffett?
Yes,
You were.
unfortunately, I was.
It made it over. The news made it
Yep.
over there.
It made the
Okay.
news. And
Okay.
I'm really sorry because I enjoyed that man's performances.
Mm-hmm.
I liked his music, and in reading about him in the obituaries and things, it seems like a lot of the persona that he exuded during his performances was the real him.
Yes.
He was a
Yeah,
nice
That was
guy.
not an act. That was
very
that was him.
very smart man, made lots of money, but he was a nice guy.
$500 million businessman.
Hey.
That's what that is. That's his worth. Sue Tester McKenzie has joined us here at the coffee and table. How are you, Sue?
Good morning.
Wonderful, and you?
All right.
Good morning.
You look fantastic. I like the outfit, black
Thank
and
you.
white.
I was listening to you on the radio, having a nice trip, and
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So now I will always be envious of Bob Lauder.
Why?
Well, Bob.
Very
you
few
s-
people
you,
are,
You,
so-
you were there for Jimmy Buffett's final performance in front of a crowd in Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Yes, that was an amazing
I
experience.
could have gone and didn't, but you did.
I did
And
because
you'll always have that, Bob.
Bill and Cecil Ryan were the ones who arranged the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I followed their advice
lead.
and their wisdom. Yep.
There were about 200 people there, and at least that's what I've heard. Maybe more.
Probably about 300.
300, okay.
Yeah.
And Jimmy played for like a half an hour or 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hindsight being 2020, with him being sick with the skin cancer, which was what killed him, he probably could only put on 30 minutes to 40 minutes before he was probably exhausted.
He looked perfect. He
Yeah.
didn't have any appearance of being a
Ill?
person who was particularly ill. No.
Other than he was thin.
Well,
I saw pictures of him. He was getting thinner.
Yeah, but he's never been a really robust kind of guy. He's always
No.
been sort of thin. But yeah, and he did a fantastic job. It was great to see him, and the crowd really went crazy when they
Well,
saw
sure.
him.
And you were there, Bob.
Yes.
When people say where was Jimmy Buffett's last public performance, I was there to see him.
I
in
was
Portsmouth,
there
Rhode
just
Island.
by accident, but it was good.
Yeah, just by accident.
We're still going to be doing the Tiki Bar.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's no reason to stop his music because his
Okay.
music is so great. So
it's even more reason to play his music.
that's right.
I used to do the concerts at Great Woods at
And
the
drop,
time,
drop people off.
and
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett was there at the concert.
Oh, yeah.
Doing the concert, and it was the parking lot was where the party
Jamming.
was.
Yes.
I mean, really, it was
I've
crazy.
met Bob in the parking lot over there a couple of times.
But Joe doesn't necessarily come through the main gate where you have to exchange the tickets.
Right.
I live too
he-
close. I walk there.
Good.
One time I rode a couple of times I've ridden my bike over there.
Wow.
And he's had the marks on his hands from going over the chain link fence in the back.
Yeah, it hurt too. But it's funny, talking with Dave a little bit about it. I don't know if you have Jimmy Buffett's latest or most recent album.
No, I don't.
It's called Life on the Flip Side, which he was making after he learned that he was sick. And when you start looking at the songs, he's actually telling us he is sick
Oh,
and that things might be coming to an end. And there's two songs in particular. One is called "Live Like It's Your Last Day," which
Wow.
is what he always did.
Yeah.
And the other one is called "Book on the Shelf," and he always said, "I'm not in the song." He says, "I'm not ready to be I'm not ready to be the book on the shelf. I'm ready to still go out there."
yeah.
But he knows eventually he is going to be the book on the shelf.
Well, we all are. Someday,
Eventually, and he knew a little bit before us, but we didn't know that ahead of time. And of course, he does have another album coming out around his birthday, which is Christmas.
Good.
So
Good.
be on the lookout for that. So, and yeah, but I'm kicking myself because I said, "Oh no, I won't go to Portsmouth. I'll see him next summer." Yeah.
Well, no one expected him in Portsmouth. It was
Well,
a
no.
Mac McAnally
That's
concert.
right. And I was offered tickets. Go see Mac. Well, yeah, that'll be fun. because he's good.
Yeah,
he's,
he
he's,
is.
he's really talented. I said, man, no, that's okay. And then he shows up, and I wasn't there, and Bob was, and yeah, now I hate him, Sue.
Wait a minute. This adds to the list, though, doesn't it? The politics,
people that hate you.
Okay.
France, I mean, let's throw that up in there.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
riverboat cruises. Jeez, well, life is rough, huh?
Good thing I have a wife who plans everything out and makes it happen.
So it's hot out.
Yes,
Really?
it is.
Yes, it is. It really is. Does court get called off if it's too hot? Bob, have
I
you ever
don't
come
recall court
come
ever
across
being
that?
called off except during COVID.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
What about like heavy snow or like that? They
Heavy
must-
snow, no. At one time, we had
Wow.
we had a case in the family in the federal court down in Providence. This goes back to the 80s, and there was a prediction for a hurricane. And I called the court the day before to find out if the hearing was still going to be on. And as of something like noontime on the day before the hurricane is supposed to hit, the clerk of the federal court says, "We're going to go."
Yeah.
Actually, they didn't, because it in early morning they canceled everything out. But less than 24 hours ahead of time, they were still going.
All right. So even though it's hot out,
Justice
court goes on today.
Justice does not slow down for anything.
Oh,
Well, wait,
all right.
it does slow down, but I mean, it doesn't.
All right, a question for Bob, because a bit of on the legal side. 5 student athletes at the University of Iowa and Iowa State University, they're pleading guilty today, underage gambling.
I heard you talk about
Yeah.
that on the radio, and I heard the penalty that they're going to be imposing on these guys.
Penalty's kind of tough,
And
Sue.
penalty is incredibly tough.
$600 fine. Well,
No.
it may be a little more for each of them, but it's after that. They're a complete loss of all their collegiate eligibility. So they're there to play. They're student athletes. They're there to play a sport. Doesn't say which one, but now you're not playing a sport. If you're underage, you're 18 or 19. You're a freshman or a junior or sophomore, and you still got a few more years to go before you graduate, and you're just done playing that sport.
I
Too tough.
find that, not knowing the full facts of what
Yeah.
the allegations were, I find it unfortunate that they're pleading guilty and accepting that kind of a penalty, because the $600 is nothing. But
It's the gambling.
losing your eligibility.
Yeah.
If you are a kid whose athletic prowess is the big thing you have going for you in making a career and getting money and earning things, and that's taken away from you, or you agree to allow it to be taken away from you, and you can't do it anymore, that means, if I understand correctly, you're not going to be playing on the football team. You're not likely to be drafted by some.
Probably not.
Yeah, you have lost a fantastic financial opportunity in your life. And I would have hoped that the attorneys for these kids would have been able to work out some kind of a plea bargain that did not include that kind of a draconian penalty.
So, any thoughts on that?
Isn't there, and I could be wrong on this, isn't there a law that states if you are an athlete, you're not supposed to be gambling anyway?
Well, right.
So
It's
maybe that's playing a factor in that.
You shouldn't be gambling on the sport you participate in.
Okay.
Can you gamble on the other sports? It's probably ill-advised.
Right.
So it doesn't say if they were gambling on their own sports. I wish it did, and I wish I knew. But in the sporting world, for whatever reason, gambling is like the biggest taboo going, and you cannot look at Pete Rose.
Yes.
Pete Rose is still not in the Hall of Fame for betting on. Well, he bet on games that he participated in, but
Right. Yeah, 'cause then you
but
throw the
they
game.
take gambling so seriously. Well, they don't want games to be fixed. Is
Right.
what it's coming down
Yeah.
to.
Right.
And maybe they couldn't. Maybe that was a no deal breaker kind of thing. Because you bet on the games or the sport that you participate in. You can NCAA rules. It's probably written out plainly. You gamble on your sport, your scholarship is taken away, and that is just there's no wavering on that. There's no negotiation.
I still feel it's very harsh on these, without knowing the extent to which they were gambling. I think it's very harsh on these kids.
It is very harsh, and like my stating that it's illegal, no matter what age, doesn't mean I think it's okay.
Yeah.
That
Right.
was, I think, like you say, the attorney could have worked something out.
Maybe he did with that low $600 fine, which isn't much.
Yeah.
They'll just go to
Right,
mom and
maybe it
dad.
would've
Can I
been
have
more.
and maybe they wanted the gambling and they have plenty. They got 600 sitting around. Oh yeah, I'll pay that off. That's no problem. All right, we're gonna take a break here on the Coffee and program. I got another question for Bob when we come back, and you can call in your comments and questions at 766-1240.
For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with Remax Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial, and he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
It is Coffee and on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder and Sue Tessier-McKenzie. And Sue, it is time for a first message from the Call newspaper.
Yes, it is. We keep talking about the voting and the, Community Choice Awards and all that good stuff. It is live online, so if you have not yet voted for your favorite, whether it's favorite restaurant, favorite tanning salon, your favorite hair salon, anything in the above, please do so. www.woonsocketcall.com. You click on the button that says Community Choice Awards, and it will take you right to. It's going to read Westerly Sun 2nd Street. They're the ones that control the online portion of that. So you are in the right place. All you need to do is put in your name and you register in your email address, and then you'll start getting those emails reminding you to vote for your favorites.
Can you vote once a day?
Once a day.
Once a day. Okay,
Yeah.
that's usually how those work. All right, very good. I do have another question for Bob because we just had the college students with their underage gambling,
Right.
and you thought their sentence basically was a little too harsh with losing their collegiate eligibility. How about now we bump it up to the pros? We're going to bump it up to the New England Patriots and their player named Jack Jones. He was allegedly caught with 2 loaded handguns and ammunition in his carry-on bag at Logan Airport. Back a few months ago. Now, his sentence, 1 year probation, 48 hours of community service. And he gets to play on Sunday.
I would think that, not knowing all the facts, that was extraordinarily lenient.
I would say
I
so.
mean, anybody over the age of probably 9 or 10 years old knows that you're not supposed to be carrying weapons on planes.
Yeah.
And for anybody to
Think they get away
challenge
with
TSA and say,
I was
I'm
thinking mine,
fine, and
yeah.
then they have the loaded weapons
Yeah,
in
the
their
guns
carry-on.
were loaded. Usually people say, well, they're not loaded, so what's the big deal? But these were allegedly loaded. So,
I think that's extraordinarily lenient.
all right.
I would have expected some serious penalties,
All right.
not extending beyond 48 hours of community service.
Did you hear about this, Sue?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
Do you think it's lenient too?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. Okay.
Very much so.
And I'm laughing because, the 48 hours of community service, I brought this up yesterday. Well, he probably hangs out as part of his charity work anyway. He's going to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston or whatever, or the YMCA. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and that'll settle his 48 hours.
And did you say there was probation, or
It just says 1 year probation. I don't even know what that entails.
it didn't say there was a sentence, a suspended sentence, a deferred
No.
sentence, nothing?
It's just that this was the agreement that it came to.
Okay, if it sounds as though, well, if you get in trouble again in the next 12 months, we'll bring this back and we can relitigate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I also thought, because love Bob Kraft, owner of the Patriots, but he's a very rich man, and he's got the greatest lawyers in the world. How he got off on that charge in Florida at the massage parlor is incredible. So, is he offering his lawyers to the players?
I would imagine his players can afford to hire their own lawyers.
Yeah, but we want the
And when you
good.
say
We want
that
the
he
good
has-
lawyers.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait,
yeah, we
wait.
want real
Nobody's
law-
called me yet, so I'm feeling a little bit
Well, you can't.
left out.
You can't practice in Massachusetts, Bob.
Ah, that's the reason
That's why
why.
they haven't called you.
Must
I
be
think we
that.
should, however, have a test case. We should send Joe up to Logan
Oh,
Airport with a satchel with 2 weapons in it, loaded. They don't have to be, big,
Right.
powerful thing. Maybe a Derringer or something.
Yeah.
And see if the penalty is the
It's
same.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
think you.
gotta
I
be a
don't think you'd
comparison.
see me again if I did the same.
I'll do that. I could use a bit of a break, and-
Yeah, but do you want to do the 48 hours of community service?
Oh, I have no
mean,
problem with community service.
Okay.
You should see when I'm. Usually when I travel,
Yeah.
I don't want to pack a bag that you check. I'd much rather just. I could shove everything into a carry-on bag.
Right.
I did it once. Went to Disney World for a week.
Wow.
I took a carry-on bag and that was it.
Wow.
Oh
God
my
bless you.
goodness.
But you should see me before I start packing. I mean, I basically crawl into the carry-on bag to make sure something hasn't slipped in there somehow, some way, like a small knife
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a pin or a sewing needle or anything like that. I am very paranoid about that. That something has shown up that I didn't realize, and now all of a sudden it's a weapon.
I guess he's not going to.
So putting in a
test case.
loaded gun
Nope.
as an experiment.
No, he's
And that's
not-
what I'll say.
he's
this
not
was
doing it.
if this was an experiment, and you people passed. Congratulations. Now let me go. No,
We
no.
were testing you
Yeah,
guys.
that's right. So and you passed. So everyone gets a raise.
It's just so crazy how much, so many things have changed. I mean, everything from going to a concert. Because remember, I had my limo service, so
Yeah.
I was at the airports daily, the concerts, all of that. Right here in Providence, it's like, yeah, go drive your limo around back. We'll drive you underneath and go backstage.
Just-
I mean,
wow.
they just don't do that now.
No.
And it's just crazy, especially with the airports, how much has changed. People would be able to walk you to the gate
Yeah.
and then turn around and walk back out.
I
No, that doesn't happen anymore. So there's a lot of changes. So
I've
but
seen that because across the street from my house in Mansfield is a place that repairs cars.
Yeah.
And I've seen quite a few empty limousines that just hang out there for 3 or 4 hours as they wait for the concert to end, so then they
Yeah.
can go back and pick up whoever they
pick
got to
up
go
your
back and pick
group,
up.
Yeah.
Well, we want to mention there is Sue wanted us to mention this, a Beer and Dynamite fundraiser coming up on September 22nd, and this is for your husband
Yes.
Whoa.
to help Ron McKenzie with continued treatment and recovery. Now, this is great. This will be at the Italian Working Men's Club, 947 Diamond Hill Road. Tickets are $20 a piece. Dynamites will be provided by Little General.
Little
When's the
General.
date again?
September 22nd. 5 to 9 p.m. It's a Friday night.
And I just want to mention quickly the reason Ron needs more, progress, recovery, and treatment is he suffered cardiac arrest in January of 2020, and he was DOA at Landmark. They got a pulse back, but 50 minutes had passed, so he now has a global anoxic brain injury. He's doing fantastic. Had to relearn everything. I mean, even how to hold a spoon. So it's a constant thing, but because COVID lockdowns, he never got to a treatment facility for brain injuries. So that's what this fundraiser is for. It's to raise money to get him to the Apex Brain Center in North Carolina.
Yeah, so that'll, there's transportation costs
Exactly.
and staying down there and
Not covered by insurance,
and
all
then-
of that.
and then housing for you
Yeah.
to be down there with
It's
them.
2
so-
weeks. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
2-week
Oh, 2 week?
program.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So tickets, donations can be made by contacting Sue. Can
Yeah.
we give
Who
you
do
a
we
phone
make the
number?
checks out to?
Sue.
Tessia McKenzie. I opened up a special account for that
this?
purpose, so I can, keep track of everything. And yeah, it's going well.
Good.
I'm a little nervous. As much as many events as I've planned in the city, including the Mardi Gras and many other events, this one's personal, so I'm a little nervous.
There'll be entertainment. Is this a band
Yes.
called
Yes,
Fixed Income?
Fixed Income
Okay.
is actually Bob. My brain just went south. He's our neighbor, and he often stays with Ron, as a matter of fact. And he has a band. Ron used to play the drums with Bob.
Oh, okay.
So the band, they play at places like Lindy's and Uncle Ronnie's and
Mhm,
the Elks Hall and whatnot. So they have offered their services
Oh, great.
for the entertainment for the night. So we have a live band even.
Fantastic. Italian Working Men's Club. It's on Friday night, September 22nd, 5 to 9 p.m. Tickets and more information, you can contact Sue at the 401-487-4136.
Thank you.
And it all goes to help Ron McKenzie's continued treatment and recovery. So best of luck with this fundraiser.
Thank you.
All right. We had a note that was called in, 766-1240. I guess I think this has to do with sending Joe on his experiment to Logan Airport.
Oh, yes.
It just says, how about a paperclip? It worked in Terminator 2. If I found paper clips inside my luggage, I would take them out.
Now, Terminator 2 is with Bruce Willis, right?
No, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's no Schwarzenegger. Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
even
the
I knew that
comparison-
one.
The comparison, it's there. I mean, you get this, but okay, you knew that one. God.
Bob's a little tough on social
I'm
things
just-
that are going on like that.
Yeah, I'm just
That's funny.
quietly
He's still
walking
on the
th-
cruise. He's still on the cruise.
quietly
mentally.
walking through 1955, saying this is a great time.
Nah. Now, how much French did you pick up over there? Did you learn anything? Other than bonjour.
That was about it.
That's about
Not a
it.
thing.
Not where's the
My
boat
wife,
or
no, my wife could talk with people, and she
I
had
want
a good time.
I
but
want a cheeseburger and
no cheeseburger in
no
paradise.
brie.
They had lots of
Lots
wonderful
of
cheeses,
cheese,
though.
yeah.
It was
And wine.
They went by one shop, and they have over 300 different kinds of cheese.
Wow.
Wow.
mean, And I don't think you'd go in and find Velveeta or anything like that. It's,
No American.
I doubt it.
They'd probably throw you out if you asked for American cheese.
Well, I wouldn't be able to say it in French, so I'd be,
Right?
Did anybody realize? Oh well, this one he doesn't speak French, and then they started speaking English to you.
most
talking
of
about the
most
locals.
of the people over there presume that tourists are being speak English. Yeah.
Really? So they
Yeah.
just automatically do it, huh?
Yep.
We must be the only country that doesn't do that.
Growing up, if I wanted something, I had to ask in French.
To your parents?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If I don't even do not test me.
No,
Because
all
I've
right.
learned
Well, you could
some-
say anything. I'd
Well,
believe
I've
you.
learned some swear words in French. So, yeah, we don't want to go down that road. But, yeah, I used to have to ask in French because my mother's French and my
Mhm.
mom, dad, grandparents. So, yeah, they wanted you to ask in French.
You were so fortunate.
They
That is
consi-
great.
They considered it a sign of respect to,
Okay.
especially to my grandparents,
Mhm.
which it is when you get down to it.
Are you still? Have you kept up with the language? Can you still
God,
speak
no.
it? No. Okay.
No,
So you're no
no.
longer fluent in
Back to
French.
bonjour.
No, back to bonjour. Bonsoir. That's another one. Mademoiselle. That's about it. Bonjour. All right. Well, but you still made it through. You still now. Were your flights? You go by flight? Or
Yes.
Did you, okay. Boston
Boston
to
Paris,
Paris. Okay.
and then Paris to Marseille,
Uh huh.
and then when we came back, it was Paris to Boston. And it was all in Air France. They did
Yeah.
a nice job. Yeah, nothing to complain about.
Food on the flight because it's usually the international flights you get food,
You
and I don't mean peanuts.
you received food, yes.
And you bypassed?
Oh, no, I consumed the food.
Oh, okay, good. Excellent. All right. We'll take another break here on the Coffee and program. We have a couple of guests to bring into the studio. We will when we come back. Right now it's time for the forecast, which is being brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance.
Sunny skies today and hot with a high of 93 degrees. Heat indexes up near 100 degrees today with barely a breath of a breeze from the west. Tonight, increasingly cloudy, overnight low of 70 degrees. Friday's weather, partly sunny, high of 87. Saturday, partly sunny and 86. Sunday is a slight chance of a shower, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 82. Monday, a better chance of shower, 60%, mostly cloudy and 78. Tuesday, partly sunny and 78. Wednesday, mostly cloudy with a high near 74 degrees.
Thanks, Dave. And currently outside the Navigate Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. Sunny skies, it's hot and humid, and we have 78 degrees. Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org. This segment of the Coffee has been sponsored by the Call newspaper.
Do you have an apartment or home for rent? Or perhaps you have extra items to sell. With over 50,000 readers in print and online, The Call and OneSocketCall.com is the best place to reach customers here in the Blackstone Valley. Whether it's apartment rentals, homes for sale or rent, lost and found items, or even job listings, our classifieds offer an affordable way to reach readers, subscribers, and advertisers every day of the week. So, if you have something you want to sell, call us today at 767-8503 with your ad, and it will appear in the next day's call. Be sure to call before the 2:30 p.m. deadline. That's 767-8503 to place your ad today.
Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
Hi, I'm Kathleen LaValle at The Honey Shop. Check out our Facebook page at The Honey Shop RI, and there you'll see a whole list of our new classes and lots of fun things to do. You could join us for making limoncello, pizzas, pasta making, cheese making, so many fun things to do and learn.
Thanks, Kathy. Folks, if you love food, you'll love the Honey Shop, right behind the Dunkin' Donuts at Park Square in Woonsocket.
Lou Mandeville here to tell you the only place to get your local high school and college scores, as well as the Pats, Bruins, Celtics, and Sox is on My Morning Sports Reports. And they are right here on ON 1240, Monday through Friday on the Morning Fun Show.
And it's Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan, and at the Coffee and Table, full table today, it's Sue Tessier-McKenzie and Bob Lotter. And we're also being joined now at the table by a couple of fire marshals with the Woonsocket Fire Department. So we have Captain Scott Hampson. Did I say that right? No,
Yes.
That's Scott over there, right? and Captain Matt Boisvert. That's my best French. Sorry, man.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, we'll be talking to the fire marshals in just a second here. But, Bob, it's time for a first message from your law office.
Great, thank you. Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. To celebrate my return from 2 weeks vacation in France, which my wife arranged for us, I'd like to discuss several Rhode Island Supreme Court cases involving the nation of France. The first case is that of Meyer versus Meyer, which involved the daughter of a former governor of the state of Rhode Island. The issue began in divorce proceedings. Section 15521 of the General Laws of the State of Rhode Island provides that no complaint for divorce shall be granted unless the plaintiff has been a domiciled inhabitant of the state and has resided in the state for a period of 1 year next before filing of the complaint. In the Meyer case, the plaintiff wife testified that although she and the defendant owned a very large vacation home in France, and that she'd been outside of the country for 172 days during the year prior to filing her complaint, her permanent residence had always been her father's residence in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and that her intent with respect to the property in France was to vacation there and to travel extensively and to spend our summer and holidays here in Rhode Island at home with our families. The defendant objected to the jurisdiction and claimed that the plaintiff had not fulfilled the statutory requirement to establish that she was a domiciled inhabitant and had resided in the state for the statutory period of 1 year. The trial justice determined that the evidence of the plaintiff established her intent to be a domiciled inhabitant of the state. The defendant appealed that decision to the Supreme Court. The Rhode Island Supreme Court ruled that the trial justice had misinterpreted the terms of the statute. The court ruled that it is clear that the determination of residency in divorce cases in this state does not depend upon the intent of the plaintiff. In fact, intent is the sole element distinguishing residency from domicile, both of which are required in order for the subject matter to have jurisdiction within the family court. In order to establish domicile, the person must have an actual place of abode in the state with the intention in good faith to live there permanently and without any present intention of changing the home in the future, and that the actual residence without such indication does not suffice. In the Meyer case, although the trial justice had misinterpreted the requirements of the law, the court found that the actual evidence in the case established the domicile, the coupling of both the intent and the actual place of abode. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please contact my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer. The Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. And here we're here with a couple of fire marshals from the Woonsocket Fire Department, so we'll be talking with them about their jobs and what they do. And correct me if I'm wrong, and in simplistic terms of what you guys do, aren't you the people that go to where a fire was and to determine how the fire started?
That is true, but there's more to the job than.
Oh, I'm sure there
than-
is.
Yes.
That sounds pretty easy.
Yeah.
But,
That's one of the aspects of it.
what else do fire marshals do then?
So on a daily basis, every 1, 2, and 3 family home needs to get inspected. They need to have what they call a smoke certificate. So we have to go there to inspect the homes to make sure that the detection's in date, in the right place, in the right locations, and that the home is safe before it can get sold.
Okay, so people. But if they're grandfathered in, they don't have to have that. But if
There's no
once-
grandfathering in the state of
Oh, there
Rhode
is not.
Island, No.
Oh, did you know that, Bob?
Yeah. Every time you sell a house, we need
Yeah.
to get a certificate from the fire marshal.
Yep. Okay. Very
So
good.
they breaks it down by ages, and I'll
Ages
show
of
you
the- of the
of the
house?
house as what they need for protection. I have a sheet here. It's a little it's
Lengthy?
busy. That's why we carry it with us here. So
So you don't forget anything, yeah.
Oh, it's
Well, that's
a lot of
extensive. That's
stuff. Yeah.
extensive.
So that's one page. Is page 2
All right.
of depending on the year of the house, what it needs for detection, location, stuff like that.
So if you sell a house from one person to another, do the smoke detectors, do they need to be hardwired, or is batteries okay?
Depends on the age of the house.
Okay. If it's-
So the age of the house will depend if it has to be battery operated, hardwired. Basically, there's different ranges for different ages. So,
so
if it's
if the house is older, let's say 50 years,
yeah,
Anything
Where did-
pre-76 doesn't need to be hardwired. So any house, a lot of Woonsocket houses are
Yeah.
pre-76, so those houses do not have to have hardwired smoke detectors.
who came up with pre-1976?
I believe the state came up with
They
that.
did?
Yes.
Okay.
76 was a good year.
Yeah.
Now, in terms
Probably
of
the year you were born.
Yes,
Right?
yes, 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 sir. Yes, sir.
both of you?
Yes.
Wow, how about that?
God.
Yes, they're young, Bob. That's right. So, in terms of your careers, I'm assuming both firefighters
Yes.
come up through the ranks of the Woonsocket Fire Department. What makes you determine that, say, hey, I want to become a fire marshal? What's the determining factor? So, you had to
Well,
say,
I've
hey,
been
I
on,
want to do
yeah,
this.
yeah. So I've been on the education team for several years for
Mm-hmm.
our department. So it's just something that always piqued my interest, and I think this work is interesting.
Okay.
Like doing the research on the codes, inspecting different buildings in the city. I find it interesting and fun. So.
All right. That's Captain Scott Hampson. That's his story. So, and Captain Matt Boisvert, what made you go to becoming a fire marshal?
Yeah, you know what? I spent the majority of my career at Station 2, and that's where the fire marshals are located. And I'd go upstairs and interact with them,
All
see
the
what's
time?
going on. Yeah, and then when they would come on scene, if I was the first engine on scene, I was on the engine the majority of my career. You have to remain on scene and help them out. And just seeing how they interact, see what they got to do, it was intriguing. And then you have to go and get your education. So it's something you got to do take upon yourself to start.
That was my next question, is education. You have to take classes for this? And how long are you taking these classes?
So I believe the certification is every 3 years. You have to get what's NFPA 1031. That's a fire investigator. Not fire inspector. Thank you, man. Fire inspector. So that's a class we need to have this job. And from there, we've taken classes through like the International Association of Arson Investigators to be fire investigator technicians, which allows us to investigate fires.
All right. Where are these classes held?
At the International Association of Arson Investigators class, that was done mostly online with some hands-on stuff through the State Fire Marshal's office, and the classes that we took to be certified to do the fire marshal, the fire prevention stuff has been at the State Academy.
Okay. When you're taking these classes, are you allowed to? Let's say you take the class and you fail the first time. Can you keep taking it, or is it one and done? You know.
So they give you the class, you take the class, and then you have to take a test on a computer site.
Okay.
It's a 3-hour exam?
3 hours.
Ooh.
It's
No, is it 4?
Yeah,
it
it's
might
the-
be 4 hours. It took me-
It's done through the NFPA.
Yeah, so it's open book because the code books are huge,
Oh, right,
but
yeah.
you have to figure out what book to go through, how to research it. So I think it took me 3 hours and 57 minutes to do the test. It was a long
Right
time.
up to the limit.
Yeah, right up to the limit. And I still had about 10 questions I was still trying to find.
Wow.
So if you do fail, you can take it again. It just costs you more money.
Right. Okay.
There's talk about in the police department not having enough young kids or new recruits coming in to fill the spaces available. How about the fire department? How are things going there?
Yeah, we struggle in Woonsocket at the fire department. We have a different way of running things in other towns and cities in the state. Also, we don't. Other towns and cities get paid a little more than we do, so it's kind of hard to retain guys because to do the same job and get paid more, it's a no-brainer for younger guys. So it's difficult to keep guys.
Wow.
Tough to recruit.
Yeah, it's we're hoping for some changes soon, so that it'll be more appetizing for people who want to stay in the city. You know.
I think when we got hired, there might have been maybe, couple hundred people that had applied for the jobs at that time. And now you're lucky probably to get maybe 20, 25 people to apply.
Wow.
It's also harder, and you have to, have to obtain your EMT license, and you have to do a physical test before you can get hired. So before they would hire someone, then they'd put them through the physical test, and now you have to get that done ahead of time, and it expires. So every 6 months you have to go and continue to have that before you get hired. So.
Oh, jeez. Now, are all the firemen EMTs as well?
When they get hired now, they have to
Yes.
be, yes.
Wow. Okay.
How many fire marshals are in the city of Woonsocket? Is it just the two of you, or are there more?
There's 3. There's currently
There's
3 of us, yeah.
Okay. Has it always been 3? Or
As far as I know, that wasn't at one point, but since we've been hired, I believe there's been 3. We've been on 23 years.
23 years, yeah.
Okay. In terms of going out to, do you still fight fires? Or is that not part of your job
I'm
description
allowed to
anymore?
work overtime on a truck as
Okay.
long as I keep up with my my certifications and everything, which I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to work overtime every now and then if it gets offered to me and go back and work on the line with the guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Scott, do you
Yeah,
fight
as
the
long
fires?
as we keep up our certifications, we're allowed to.
How often do the firefighters have to be certified?
Well, there's certain trainings that get done periodically,
Yep.
and when we're considered day staff, so a lot of times if the training's getting done and we're doing inspections or investigating or something, we don't have time. Luckily, they do multiple trainings, so as long as you continue to do the trainings with the training director, you'll keep up with your certifications.
All right. Is there always a fire marshal at one of the stations, or does someone get a call at 2 in the morning when there's a fire?
We get a call at 2 in the morning if there's a fire. Yeah.
Is someone always on call? You're on call, right?
Well, one of us will normally answer the phone. That has happened in the past where, if none of us are available, either on vacation or what have you, they'll call the state to come in.
Okay. More coming up with the fire marshals here on the Coffee and Program. But Bob, it's time for a second message from your law office, and then we'll take another break on the Coffee and Program.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. The second case involving France, which I'd like to discuss with you this morning, goes back to 1957, the age of the sack dresses, cars with skyscraper tail fins, and the infancy of rock and roll. It's the case of McCallion versus McCallion, and it arose as a result of a claim by a plaintiff that he was entitled to a portion of the real estate which was owned by his deceased mother. The plaintiff, who was living in France, Kovac McCallion, claimed that when his mother came to the United States in 1923, she left him in the care of relatives living in Syria. He was 13 years old at the time. He claimed that as a child of the deceased, he was entitled to her interest in certain real estate located in Rhode Island. The defendants, who were all relatives of the deceased, claimed that she had no living descendants, that her daughter had died in infancy in Armenia, and her son had died in infancy in Rhode Island. The issue before the Superior Court, and affirmed in the Supreme Court, concerned the admissibility of evidence. As part of their evidence, the defendants introduced a handwritten letter addressed to the decedent and her husband, which opened with the phrase, "Dear Cousin," and closed with, "Your cousin Kovac McCallion." They also introduced a photograph of the plaintiff as a young boy in Syria, which had the inscription, "My dear cousin," and the defendants further introduced a handwritten letter by the plaintiff to his fiancée, and the testimony of a handwriting expert that all three documents had been written by the same individual. The plaintiff claimed there was no evidence that he had written any of those phrases, and he was not asked to submit any writings of his own for comparison. The Supreme Court affirmed the judgment of the trial justice. The court ruled that comparison of a disputed writing with any writing proved to be to the satisfaction of the judge to be genuine shall be permitted to be made by a witness, and such writings and the evidence of witnesses respecting the same may be submitted to the court and jury as evidence of the genuineness or otherwise of the writing in dispute. It was not necessary for the defendants to secure new writing from the plaintiff for comparison. If you'd like to discuss legal matters with me, please call my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right there, Bob. Thanks. And more of the Coffee and Program coming your way. You can call with your comments or questions at 766-1240.
Are you getting the best insurance coverage possible? Why not find out by calling the Eston and Richard Insurance Agency? They're affiliated with many of the best insurance companies in America, financially sound and competitive, so they'll get the best rates and coverage for your needs. They insure homes, automobiles, condos, apartment houses, and businesses, including restaurants and service stations. Call Eston and Richard at 766-4200 or stop in at 342 Park Avenue, Woonsocket. Eston and Richard.
Hi, everybody. This is Bill Schneck with the Autumn Fest Steering Committee. Autumn Fest 2023 is almost here, and I am very excited to announce that the 2023 Autumn Fest raffle calendars are now available here at this radio station, WOON, AM and FM radio, 985 Park Avenue. The Autumn Fest raffle calendars are still $10 each, and this year the total prize value is over $12,000, our highest ever. During the month of November, a drawing will be held every day. If your name is drawn and you win that day, your name will go back into the daily drawing so you could have multiple chances to win. The calendars will also be available to purchase during our 45th Autumn Fest celebration being held this Columbus Day weekend, October 7th, 8th, and 9th at World War II Veterans Memorial Park on Social Street here in Woonsocket. Calendars will also be available with any members of the Autumn Fest Steering Committee. All proceeds from the sale of the Autumn Fest raffle calendars will be used to offset expenses incurred during the Autumn Fest weekend. I look forward to seeing you, your families, and friends this Columbus Day weekend down at Autumn Fest. Thank you for your continued support over the last 45 years.
Hello, I am Paul LaValle, and on September 9th at 2 p.m., the pro-life members of St. Joseph's in Woonsocket will be hosting a remembrance ceremony for the unborn. Location is Resurrection Cemetery in Cumberland on West Rentham Road. It will be held at the monument of the unknown baby Mary. We invite you and hope you can join us.
It's Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. It is September 7th, and my name is Joe Callahan here with Sue Tessier-McKenzie, Attorney Bob Lauder. We'll also be joined by two Woonsocket Fire Marshals, Captain Matt Barber and Captain Scott Hampson, and how long have you been fire marshals? Not just firefighters, but fire marshals.
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, and I started in February.
Oh, well, relatively soon.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now, Fire Prevention Week is coming up in October. It goes October 8th to October 14th. As part of your job, do you get to go to the schools and talk about fire prevention?
COVID threw a wrench into a lot of that stuff.
All right, yeah.
We had a pretty good curriculum set up with the K through 5. We have a different grade. We have different programs for each grade. We go to the classrooms, and we hit everybody, which would be great. But COVID threw a big wrench into that. So we're hoping this year we can get back into the school. So we haven't seen some of those kids in a couple of years.
Wow, yeah.
You know, so hoping to get back in and do what we have to do. But like you said, the Fire Prevention Week is 8th to the 14th, and this year's theme for Fire Prevention Week is cooking safety.
Okay.
So that's what the NFPA wants to. I guess they've done some research and found that most home fires, or like I think it was 49%, stop from some sort of cooking mishap. So they're trying to push some cooking safety.
Would it be like a grease fire? Would that be the most common?
I don't know, but that's certainly one of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I just remember as a kid, I think it was in the second grade, and the fire department came to talk to everybody, and I can still remember. So it makes quite an impression on the kids, especially when I was picked to put on the gear.
Oh,
wow!
Oh, whoa!
Oh, that was fun. Although heavy.
When we do this with the kindergartners, that's our goal: is to go in there and we teach them, you know, the basics. You know, stop, drop, and roll, crawl, lobe. We put our gear on for them, put our masks on to teach them not to be afraid if you see a firefighter in a fire.
Yeah.
You know, it's good for them to hear our voices change with the masks on and stuff like that. And like I said,
you sound like Darth Vader coming in.
And then that's how we would explain it to them. Exactly like that. So, but like I said, we haven't been in the schools, and we're trying to get back into all of them.
And so, since you've just been a fire marshal, you haven't. Matt, you haven't done anything in the schools yet, have you?
Just inspections. They do annual inspections in all the schools, so I've been in and out of the schools. Some of them we get to go while kids are in class, and you got to knock on a door and go through all the classrooms, and it's kind of cool for the kids to see you.
Oh, they love to see the firefighters and the police come in and walk around.
Makes you feel like a celebrity for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ooh, the firefighters are here. All right. In terms of your job as fire marshals, when you go out and try to determine what has caused the fire, does it get easier the more fires you see that you can tell right away what has started the fire, or is it always a mystery when you start investigating?
It depends, I would say. So I mean, I would think it's fairly difficult at some point. Like sometimes we need to bring the state in. If we can't determine a cause, we'll bring the state in. They're a little more trained than we are and do a lot more fire investigations than we do. So they'll definitely come in and be an asset for us to help us determine cause.
Can you tell, sometimes there's electrical fires, but sometimes there's an accelerant that's involved. And if an accelerant is involved, how quickly do you get the police involved? If you can tell it's been, like it's arson, that you can tell it's been set.
Immediately, if we suspect arson, the state fire marshals have to come in.
They do?
Yes, automatic. Yep.
Okay. And they
basically run the investigation at that point, and we will help them out. We will assist them in what they need.
Okay. So is that a goal then for you guys, Scott and Matt, to get to the state fire marshal position?
For me particularly, no.
No? Okay. Too much paperwork?
No, 23 years here. I like to finish my career here, and then
Okay. What about you, Matt?
I'm fairly new to it, but it's cool to see how much work they have to put in and what they're able to do, and I'm not sure yet. I think maybe give me a few more years and a little more education, and I'll see where it'll take me.
All right. In terms of a fire investigation, do you just go to house fires or businesses, or do you go to car fires too?
We go to car fires if they suspect that it's
was set.
Yeah, arson, or if they have a question on something, they can send us down there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In terms of when you have gone out, and you don't mention addresses or anything like that, but you ever find anything strange? That's just, what is this doing here kind of thing?
Yeah, we typically go on numerous inspections. So like right now we're going to be starting up our liquor inspection. So every place in the
liquor inspection.
Every place in the city, every place in the city that has a food and beverage license get inspected by the fire department.
Okay.
We call them liquor inspections. That's what we call them.
Okay.
So we need to go inspect those properties, and they have to apply for a license for the city council, I believe, in November at some point. So between now and then, we'll be hitting every establishment that
So are you just looking for smoke alarms or carbon
No,
monoxide detectors?
So
or what else are you looking for?
we have a list of things that we look for there, as far as make sure emergency lighting's working, the extinguisher's up to date. If they're doing any sort of cooking in there, the hood system's been up to date, cleaned. Yes, exactly, cleaned. The ANSEL system's inspection. The egress doors work. Let's fire. So make sure there's not extension cords running everywhere through the place. You know, just things like that.
All right.
Fire alarm system maintained, sprinkler system maintained.
I was going to ask about the sprinkler systems.
Yeah, so if they have the sprinkler, it has to be maintained.
Are some of the buildings, some of the businesses in Woonsocket that don't have sprinkler systems?
There's a lot
because
that
it's
don't have
before
yeah, because it's not
1976?
required in some.
Certain businesses. Okay. Do you recommend it though?
Well, sprinklers definitely are going to save a lot more life and property, but they're
Well,
expensive
sure.
and
That's right.
they're not required. Some people tend to shy away from them. So.
All right. I don't want to hog the system, Bob and Sue, if you have something for the
I
guys.
thought you were doing
there.
a fantastic job.
Well,
Right?
thanks.
I know, we're just sitting back, you know.
Now, with regard to, and I don't want to pick on any particular restaurant in town, but during COVID, some of them used outside areas for eating that had plastic tents around them.
Yep, those all had to be rated.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
They all had to meet NFPA 702 test method, 701 test method 2, what they had to meet for a rating. So they have to show paperwork and documentation that they met this rating to use
Okay,
it.
good. All right. I was wondering if there was some kind of.
Yeah, that was pre-us. I mean, we weren't there for
Right.
the COVID times, but my understanding is that all the establishments that had the outdoor seating with the tents and the igloo type
Right.
things,
Yeah.
they had to supply paperwork saying that it met a certain specification to use them.
Good.
So,
Great.
so you guys were at my house for my fire alarms. I remember.
Yes.
Yep.
For the firebox?
Yeah, they've been at my house for many things, but whatever. He knew my address.
That raises a
Um,
whole lot of
Well,
questions
with,
about your
with
domestic.
Ron, you know, with medical wise,
Oh.
my fire alarms will go off like for no apparent reason.
All right.
Did it again this morning, just like a couple of beeps goes off. Not your chirping, I know the difference. But the other day they all went off.
Yeah.
I had cheese fell in the oven, then other smoke alarms, the fire alarms going off, and then my husband opened the door to the hallway, so that caused the hallway once to all
go
go off.
Does
So,
that get
yeah.
the fire department to come to your
So
house?
they didn't go off for nothing though at that point, correct? The
No,
smoke
because
caused
that
them.
time was the
Okay.
smoke. So
Alright.
that time I was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, I knew what it was. I didn't realize that the pizza wasn't properly placed in the oven, so it tilted, and that's when the cheese fell. But yeah, so they've been to my house to check them.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
those are considered hot wire? What are those?
So you have you live in anything with a three families have like hardwired or wireless interconnected. But if it has a fire alarm system,
Yeah.
and each apartment in an apartment, the building has a fire alarm system, but the apartment has hardwired smokes or independent smokes
Yeah.
and carbon monoxide inside. And if those go off, we're not, unless someone calls, you know.
Right.
You can just open your windows and try if it's a
kinda
minor
what I
smoke
did.
situation. But if someone does open the door and the hallway gets filled and the alarm system gets activated, then that's something we need to respond to because we have to shut it off.
Right, right.
All right. Before we go any further, Matt, you wanted to mention about a fundraiser coming up.
Yeah, September 17th at Circle Aurea from 12 to 4. Bear and Dynamite's being hosted by the Hopkins family. One of our brother firefighters, Dave, his 6-year-old son, Owen, is battling leukemia. He's been through some aggressive treatments, and he's spending a majority of time at the hospital. Can put quite the strain on the family, so we're having a little fundraiser to help alleviate with some of the pressure and everything they're going through. So September 17th, 12 to 4, Circle Aurea, Bear and Dynamite. The tickets are $20.
And
How do they
available
get
at the
them in
door.
advance? How to get tickets?
I have some phone numbers with me. If you stop by any firehouse in the city and say you'd like a ticket for Owen Hopkins fundraiser,
They can
the
send
gentleman at the station will have phone numbers. They may even have tickets to give you.
When was he diagnosed with leukemia? Do you know?
It wasn't long ago, I believe March.
No,
Yeah,
or
March
It was
this
it was
year?
it was
Yeah.
earlier this year.
Wow.
It was they were lucky to find it when they did, but the little guy is brave and tough, and he's
Yeah.
going through some really aggressive treatments. He's been
Radiation and chemotherapy.
all kinds of stuff, and
Yeah.
he's at the hospital nonstop. So it's tough. It's tough.
Do they have to go up to Boston?
I believe they're at Hasbro.
Providence.
Yeah.
Hasbro's very good with
Yeah.
the.
Right.
Yeah. with leukemia and
Yeah.
various unfortunate childhood cancers, which are
Sure, sure.
quite
Yeah, so
devastating.
I have two teenagers. I can only imagine what it's like to have a little one battling. So, hearts and prayers go out to them.
Sure thing.
Absolutely.
All right, we've come to the end of the program. We thank you very much for listening in. So, Captain Matt Boisvert and Captain Scott Hampson, Woonsocket Fire Marshals, thanks for coming in and giving us the information about what you guys do and the fun you guys have.
All right.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back again.
Yeah. And Bob Lauder, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Hope to see you next week.
All right, and Sue Tesser McKenzie, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Have a great week.
And your fundraiser is coming up on September
22nd.
22nd.
Yep, that one's a Friday night.
At the Italian Working Men's Club.
Yep.
For help with your husband with his continued treatment and recovery. All right, best
Yep.
of luck with
Thank
that.
you.
Tickets for that one, you can contact
Also
Sue at
20.
401-487-4136. All right, this is Joe Callahan. Have a great day, everyone. Stay tuned for Do You Remember with Gary Smith and the crew coming away at 9:30 right here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee reacted yesterday to Tuesday's Democratic primary, said voters got it right. In the 1st Congressional District, he said he stayed neutral during the primary race because he had several friends in the race. Now he says he will support Tuesday's